video is a brief tour of MyMathLab. Once you enroll in Module 1 and click on the title, you'll get into your actual homework for Module 1. At course home, you can see when your due date is for Module 1. It counts down 19 days and 1 hour. What we want to do is we want to go in and we want to click on homework. Then we want to go to the toolbar and click show all. At that point, we see all the work that's required of the module. First thing you're going to do in each module is begin with the homework with the Module 1 pre-quiz. Now, once you begin the quiz, you only have one opportunity to take it. It does not count in your grade for the module. It's simply a diagnostic to identify what we need to have homework on, and that will determine how much homework that you do on the actual homework sets. Once you click I'm ready to start, you need to be able to finish because it will automatically submit. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to pick and do answers to these problems. Now, here's what I'm going to do. Notice that we can navigate either by clicking on the circle at the top of the page, this gives you a sampling of the work of the problems that are in the sequence on the pretest. Okay? And you can click the double arrow and it moves to the next page of homework of problems. So this tells you that there are 20 problems here. Okay? Now, I'm going to start back on homework on pre-quiz question 1 just because I want you to see real quickly how to use your toolbar to the left. Your toolbar here to the left side of MyMathLab gives you different operators. You can always use operators on your computer for add, subtract, multiply, and divide, but some of the other things that you have to use mathematically are difficult to do on your computer, and this would allow you to add those in. For example, I could do 2, click the plus sign, and then 3, and get an answer that says 2 plus 3. I could do in B, I could say 4 to the second power by clicking on the little superscript and typing in a 2. And then I could arrow over to get large again and click the plus sign. And then 3 to the 4th power. Just show it. This is just an example. Obviously, these are not the correct answers. This is just an example of what you could put in and how you could use the toolbar. So there are 3 answers. I'm going to go to next question. Let's see. I'm just going to pick one. And this one says, decide whether the statement involving a quantifier is true or false. Okay, some real numbers are not whole numbers, so I have to obviously know what a whole number is, and a whole number would be like a counting number plus 0. So those would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 0. Now, a real number could also be like 1.3, so I could have some real numbers that would not be whole numbers. So that would be a true statement. So I'm going to click true, and then I'm going to submit my test. It tells me I haven't completed 18 questions. Be sure not to answer questions that you don't know, because those are the diagnostic part, which determine how much homework that you get. The pre-quiz does not count in your grade, so it doesn't matter how much you get right or how much you get wrong. So I'm going to click yes. I want to submit my test. And notice that now I can review my test, and I see the small red X with the parentheses, and that indicates that I didn't do that problem. It was wrong, but I didn't do it. The big red X indicates that I worked that problem, and that's the example that I did to use the toolbar, and it was incorrect. And then question 13, I got correct, so I have a big green check mark. So anything that would be related to question 13, I may not have to do in my homework. Now, if there were multiple questions that dealt with that objective, I probably would have to do homework. Okay, so I'm going to click Review Test, and I can actually see what I missed. And notice that up at the top, it also has the red X's and the green check mark. Now, the way that you tell whether or not you did the problem is it has a dark green circle around any problems that you answered. So notice that this one is incorrectly answered. This one is wrong, but it's not been answered because there's not a dark green circle. Now, I'm going to close the test, and then I can move on. I'm going to click Show All again. Now, notice that over here I have scores, but I don't see a score for a pre-quiz because it doesn't count as part of my grade. I do see a score for me for my homework, which is a 1, which is 100%. Sorry, for the video, because that means I watched the video, and I've already watched it, so it's showing up as 100. I click on it. I click on the video. It opens up, and it's an author-created video. It's not one of my videos in this section. Okay? So when you close that, 100 indicates to me that yes, you watched it. If it's a 0, that means I know you didn't watch the video. Now, on the homework, the only difference in the homework and the pre-quiz is that once you begin the homework, you can go ahead and stop at any point in time. All right, let's click on just any question here, for example. And I'm going to click on this one, and notice that I've got 2 questions worked incorrectly. All right, so let's go to this one and let's answer. It says decide whether this is true or false. Every whole number is rational. So whole numbers, again, like what we talked about a second ago, are like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a rational number is a fraction. So I can write all of those as fractions. So that's true. Okay. Now, I'm going to click check, and it says fantastic. Now watch what happened at the top. Now I have a green check mark. Okay, let's go back to number 3, question 3 here. And I'm going to answer incorrectly, and I'm going to put A is 1. And it tells me it's not correct, and it gives me an example of how to make it, how to get the correct answer. Now, watch what happens. I didn't change anything. I'm checking it again, giving me another hint. And then it says at the bottom, final check. So I get 3 chances to get my answer correct. So when I check it, we know it's not correct because I didn't change it. It gives me the correct answer. Now, if I want to get it correct, I don't have to just stop with that, okay? I have to go ahead and finish through it. So I'm going to check answer, because this has 3 parts, because it has to find A, B, and C, okay? And to, again, I'm giving it just any old answer here to get this. Okay, now, if I want to do another one, notice that at the bottom, I missed this. It's wrong. It tells me what I answered by scrolling over, and what's there that's showing are my correct answers. Now, I can do a similar exercise, and if I answer it correctly, then it will change my red X to a green check mark. Okay? Now, once I finish with all of my homework, okay, I'll have grades for everything, and I can see my grade book. I can look and see all my grades without clicking on them there. By this, see, this gives me all of my grades that I got correctly. And if I want to see my overall score for my math lab, this is what it would be. So right now I have a 13.6 average. Now, I will record that 13.6 for my math lab module 1. So you can tell what your overall score for my math lab will be simply by clicking on Gradebook and Show Overall Score. Now, again, remember though, you can scroll down here and it will show you all your points that you got and the points that you earned. Points possible and points earned. Now, also note that there is a study plan. And in the study plan, you can practice or you can quiz. Okay? So, all of this is in here, and it's all based on answers that you give to your test and answers that you give in your homework that you have trouble with, that you work multiple times. So you can always do more practice, and then you can take quizzes. And anything that you do in the study plan doesn't count, but it will just help you working toward understanding how things are. Now, I'm going to click here also on Tools for Success. There are some tools that you may want to use that gives you some information about using a spreadsheet, about graphing calculators. The multimedia library has all of the multimedia tools. This is where you will actually find all of my PowerPoints and everything else that come from the book. And you see podcasts available. So if you have an iPhone or an iPad, you can go to iTunes, load iTunes, and click on Video Podcasts, and it will actually take you here. You can allow and then open everything up and get those. You have to have iTunes installed on your computer so you can download it. And then there's an iPad movie, and it's exactly the same thing. This is the whole chapter. But if you wanted to download something to your iPad, you could do that by going to your video, by going to iTunes, opening up iTunes, and then going into Pearson and then MyMathLab. Or just simply open up iTunes and then click directly on Chapter 1. It'll download to your iTunes, and then you can sync it to your iPad or iPod, and we'll be able to see that without having to view it over the internet. Pearson Tutor Services are only available for 30 minutes per student. There are other options for tutoring, and I'll explain those in the Blackboard tour. Discussions, there are no discussion boards in my math lab. All the discussion will take place in Blackboard. Okay? That pretty much is all that you will actually see in my math lab. Now, to navigate back to your courses, if you had another module to begin working on, you click on Courses, and then it will take you back to your landing page. And you could enter another module if you've already downloaded.